Hi everyone, this is Heather Gershinsky with another tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you some of the basics about how to use Google Docs and other Google Apps products in your classroom. So today you're going to learn about how to share, comment, and also how to see the revision history of some of the things that your students are working on. So as we all know, Google Docs and the other Google Apps are really good for creating a workspace where students can collaborate together on something on two different computers. And so the basics of that are how to share, and then for you as a teacher or as other students, how to comment, and then last, like I said, I'm going to show you how to see the revision history. So if you have two students working on one project together, the first thing that the students are going to need to do is create whatever kind of object you're asking them to create. So if you're asking them to create a Google Doc, they would just go to their Google Drive, create, and then they would click document. And they can do this with any of the different options here. They can do a presentation, which is like a PowerPoint, which I'll show you in a little bit, a spreadsheet, a form, a drawing, a script, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of different options. The main ones your students will probably use obviously are Google Docs and presentations. If you're doing other things, you might use spreadsheet, but for most classrooms, I think these two will be the main ones. So they open their doc, and I'm just going to use a document that I've already created in another tutorial. So if you want to know how I created this newsletter, you can watch my other tutorial. But once their document is created and it's started, they can share it with other people. So they can share it right here using this blue button. And right now I have it so that only I can access it. Of course, like I said, you can change lots of the options that they have here. You know, can anyone in the public see it? Anyone with a link? Anyone in Portage, and so forth. Typically, I keep it on this one here. Most students won't change it. This is just basically saying only the people that they give access to. So that's what that is. And then they can invite people to look at their documents. So I'm going to invite myself using my home email address just so I can kind of show you. So I'll select that. Now, the other thing they're going to need to do is choose what that person can do with their Google Doc or their Google presentation. So this one is can edit. This would be for if they want the person to work on the same project with them. So if you have two students that are creating one Google Doc or one Google presentation, they want to make sure their partner can edit it too. So usually they're going to use that. But if it's something that they're just sharing with somebody that they don't want them to be able to actually change anything, they can do can comment or can view. Can comment is going to let the person that's looking at it leave comments on the side. It's not going to let them actually change anything, but it's going to let them just say, you know, here are some suggestions I have. And then can view only lets them see it, so the person can't comment on it or anything. So can edit and can comment are probably going to be the two most popular. So again, I'm just going to show that this person can edit it because I want them to work on it with me. Okay, so once I do that, it just tells me that this email is not part of Portage. So I'm just going to click OK. And then I can always go back and change that here. So if I ever decide that actually I don't want somebody to be able to edit something, I can go back to the share button and change that. And is owner is also just going to show that the person can basically do anything with it, meaning sharing with other people. It also shows down here that editors can add people to that, so, and which you can change too. So if you don't want them to be able to add other people to it, you can change it here. So editors, meaning the person that can edit it, can also add other people, or only the person who owns it being the person who started the doc. So I'm going to keep it there. So that's sharing. And you can share with groups as well, and I can show you that on another tutorial about Google Groups, but that's the basics of how to share something. So once it's shared, people, like I said, can either view it or look at it. The comments portion of it is right here and next to the share button and under comments, and this is where people can actually leave little comments on something that's been done. So I'm actually going to take you over to another project that some of my students worked on and show you some of the functions there. So they shared this with me, and I can see that if I go here. So they shared it with me, which they gave me permission to edit it. And of course, they're both able to edit it themselves too. So that's who they've shared it with. Now I can comment, and here's where I put some of the comments here. and it looks like they were kind of commenting back and forth on some things. So I can add a comment here explaining how things went, and I use this a lot to actually give the students their grade. So if they submit something to me through Google Docs or Google Presentation and I'm grading it, I usually will type up a little explanation of how they got their grade right here, which takes the place obviously of pen and paper rubrics too. So that's kind of nice. I can actually type their grade right in here and it'll show it to both of them. So I can comment there, and that's going to, okay, so I can close that. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you is more for the teacher side of things. I'm going to show you the revision history, and this is a big one that not a lot of people know about. And this is really nice, especially if you have group work. I've had a couple of instances where a student will say, well, I did all the work and my partner didn't really do anything. And I can actually prove who did what. So that's really handy. You can do this with individual students' works too, and I'll show you that in a minute. So to do that, you just go to File and see Revision History. It's going to bring up the revision history from the time that this was created. Okay, and this is just going to show the basics to begin with, but you can actually go back to show more detailed revisions, and it tells you everything that is changed. So as I can see, on November 1st at 2:14, this student, Dan, put a couple text boxes in. And then I can look at here, and then he's changed a couple of other things. Okay, so every minute or so, or every few minutes after something is changed, it actually saves that in the revision history. You can restore this revision. So if you happen to lose some work or you accidentally type over something, you can always come to your revision history also to come back to that. I don't want to do that obviously because then it's going to revert back to just this. So I only really use revision history for the most part just to look and see what the students have done, so I can see specifically what they've done. And they're color coded, so since I have 2 students working on it, they have 2 different colors, and there's going to be a different color for each student working on that particular project. So anything that's in pink, I know Dan edited. Anything in the orange, I know that Alex edited. So you can see over here what's been edited by each one of them. Okay, so I can actually go back and I can see that this is what Alex typed, you know, and go through specifically. And so I can see Alex worked on it for a period of time, must have been during his class, and then Dan worked on it for a period of time. And then there are some times when they're both working on it at the same time, and they both make changes really close to one another. And when I look at that, anything that's outlined again in orange is stuff Alex added, so I could see he added a picture here. Dan's is in pink, so Dan added this picture, and so on. So that actually shows me everything that they've been editing. So here I can see that Dan put the picture in. He also put some text in, and maybe move this picture a little bit. So there's the revision history. I can actually look at it. So I can go here and I can tell the students that I can see exactly what they've done. The other way you might use this is for individual students, like I was kind of starting to mention before. So let me go back to my newsletter. I'm the only person who's worked on this. So if I go to the revision history for it, under File again, it shows that I started working on it today, and then I can go to more details, and it shows all the changes I've made. So I started it today at 5 o'clock. I can see that it took me about 20 minutes to work on. And so when I started, I just had text in here. Mine's all in green. So I typed the text. I added some columns, as you can see, and then I actually reverted back. I did some undoing, changed some things, okay, changed some text, added a text box, and so on and so forth. So the reason you might use this is to kind of see how much work a student was doing during class. So you know, if a student says, well, I worked on it all, you know, morning, and you go back, you can actually see how much work they've done, which is kind of cool too. I've also seen this done for students have shared their Google Doc with their teacher, and then after they get their grade back, I've actually seen some students try to say, well, that's in there, you should go look at it, and then it turns out they had added it after. So that's really nice because then you can actually see what's been added when. So that you can say, well, actually, you know, you added this after it was supposed to be turned in and after I graded it. So hopefully students won't do that, but just a couple of cool ways that you can actually check into that, and you can actually prove what they've been working on during that time. So that's it for this tutorial, just the very basics. If there's anything more specific that you'd like to know about any of these topics, please let me know, and I can either respond to an email or I can create another tutorial about that particular topic. But if you want to contact me, you can send me an email at gershinskyh@portage.k12.wi.us. Otherwise, you can look me up in the staff directory as always. Thanks for watching.